we will talk about Ashes of Creation. Worry not. Once we've finished Lazy Man Mode, we'll play some Ashes of Creation. Oh, wait! I mean, we've only got a few minutes. Can I please stop killing innocent MMOs, Josh? No, because I'll tell you what annoys me about that. First of all, welcome everyone. Hopefully you're having a lovely day. There we go. Let me tell you what annoys me. First of all, hi. Let's start off with some positive energy. Hello. Now let's go into the negative energy. You know what annoys me? What annoys me is that the most immoral, the most corrupt, the most evil, and the most powerful people in our society seem to be able to act with complete impunity and do pretty much whatever they want with absolutely no consequences. Let's combine that with MMORPGs. The MMORPG genre is crying out for a new game. The players want something new. They want a new experience. Why is it that the people that lie to you, the people that attempt to trick you, the people that try and pull you parasocially into a system or a process or a product that no longer exists and was probably never going to exist and who want your money are the ones who then get rewarded for doing that? Why is it that the people who promise you the world and then take your money and run away with it are the ones that get to enjoy the free lifestyle? And the people that are hanging back and saying, hey guys, maybe don't fully believe all of this, maybe don't fully commit to this, maybe have a little bit of, customer caution with this going on. Why are they the ones that are laughed at as the ones that are spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Why are they the ones that are laughed at as the ones that are just hating for no specific reason? Is this about Ashes of Creation? No. Didn't say that at all. If you want to connect my opinions with Ashes of Creation, that's entirely up to you, but I did not point any fingers whatsoever. I mean, it's remarkably similar, isn't it? But I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. Allegedly is a word I'm going to be using a lot with this. What happened with Ashes of Creation? I'll tell you what happened with Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation was a game that massively overpromised and overhyped what it was going to be and got people involved in its product and process to effectively create a cult of supporters who would defend it from any and all critique. I made a video 4 years ago called Ashes of Creation Don't Believe the Hype. Stop hyping this game. Stephen Sheriff even commented on that video basically explaining why he was doing what he was doing. People told me within the Ashes of Creation Discord, within the Ashes of Creation Reddit, within the MMORPG subreddit that I was just a hater, that I was doubting it too much, that I wasn't believing the ability of the team, and I'm sure there are many innocent people that have been caught up and swept up in this entire process and they don't deserve what has happened to them. However, when something overpromises what it can do and then underdelivers what it can create, and then when something asks for your money, despite the fact they say they've got the money to do it, alarm bells start to go off. And when a company then says, we don't answer to a board of directors, and then when the game kind of doesn't launch and fail, the excuse given is, sorry guys, the board of directors took control. Which is it? Because you can't kind of have both here. You can't eat your cake and have it too. There's one of those was true, one of those was a lie. Then you've got the idea of people saying, hey, I'm going to give loads of money to this because it's going to exist. Don't worry, there's a clause in the contract that says if the game doesn't launch, everyone will be refunded. Pretty convenient, isn't it, that there was a Steam launch in December and it's been out roughly 30 days now, which I think legally counts as a launch. You have to understand, guys, that a hell of a lot of the law is trying to work out how to circumvent the law. A lot of the wording we use within legal situations is so specific, there's actually a word for it. We call it legalese. Legalese is the use of language, the use of words, the use of rhetoric, the use of specific sayings and phrases to mean different things and have different legal context in order to circumvent the meanings of contracts. It's why there is a difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. And if you didn't know there was a difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion, that's by design. Legalese is not taught to you. You are not meant to know it. It's a lawyer talk. It's an attorney talk. It's a barrister talk. If you want to go and have a look at the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion, I would encourage you to do so. Because educating yourself on how the legal system works and how any kind of creative process works is remarkably important. So when someone says, hey, don't worry, if this game doesn't launch, you'll all get your money back, and then the game launches in a buggy state, you're shit out of luck, my friend. Because the game did launch. The contract has been fulfill. What I don't want people to do, and I can see you doing it in chat now, is say our only hope is Chrono Odyssey. Why, in order to save the MMORPG genre, are you constantly looking for new things to be added to it, despite the fact that the most successful elements of it are things that already exist? I don't understand why people say the MMO genre is dying or, needs to be saved when we have games that are absolutely fine within it that are continuing to push the boundaries and continuing to hold players. Is new stuff launching into this genre? No, not at all. It doesn't necessarily need to. The games that we have are good enough. It's like when someone says, oh my god, we need to save sports. We've only had the most dominant sports be the same for the last 20 to 30 years. We need to save music because we've only had the most dominant genres of music be dominant for the last, 10 to 15 years. It's entirely okay to have the most important and impressive stuff. Do we need to save movies? People go, oh my god, I can't believe that no good movie has released in the last 10 years. First of all, they have. But then you can also go back and watch the old stuff as well. Lord of the Rings Online is still alive and kicking. Guild Wars 1 has had a good remaster. That's still going. Dungeons & Dragons Online, that's still working. Guild Wars 2 is still going, that kind of stuff. When people say, and I'm not having a go at you personally, when people say stuff like, Chrono Odyssey is our only hope. Why? Why is it your only hope for a new game? Is it because you've played all of the others and don't like them? That's totally okay, but it's not your only hope. Your hope is to understand the MMORPG genre was never a genre of good games. It was a genre of society, a genre of community, a genre of connection. It was the world's prettiest chat room with a game system attached to it. Always has been and likely always will be. No one's playing the MMORPG genre because they want the cutting edge of game design. They're playing it because they want to play mediocre game design with other people. Or they want to play mediocre game design while existing around other people and feeling a level of community connection so they're not as lonely. And that's totally okay. If that's how you want to play the genre, that's okay. But please, stop putting all of your hopes and dreams onto whatever new MMORPG is going to launch. We've got this right now in old school RuneScape. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's a silly idea. But people are here. We're hanging out. We're chatting. And we're having a good time to it. We don't need to constantly be looking for the next best thing if you haven't actually enjoyed the thing that came before it. You've played every one of them and got to endgame and it becomes repetitive. That's like saying you've read every single book and when you get to the final chapter it gets quite boring reading the final chapter again and again and again. Yes, that's the point. It's meant to be repetitive because it's a genre designed to be a forever game. It can't exist. It's the snake eating its own tail. It's the Ouroboros of game design. If you finish watching a film and then you go back and watch the final scene of the film again and again and again, you're going to start saying, you know what, this film's actually quite boring at the end. Yes, it is because you finished it. However, if you're sat there with a bunch of mates watching the final scene again and again, you're going to find some fun things to do with your mates because the point of the genre was never about being good. It was about having friends to do the mediocre thing with. They're all built differently, they all supply you with a different thing, but ultimately what they're trying to supply you with is an experience to have with other people. I'm sorry that Ashes of Creation failed. I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't see it coming. Of course I saw it coming. Without a doubt, I saw it. I'd made a video 4 years ago calling it out. The idea was that if you promise the world and you don't have anything to build it off, then you're not going to be able to do that. Am I going to make a video on the Ashes debacle? What do I need to say that's already not been said? What do you need to know? You need me to regurgitate the same points again and again and again? You know what irritates me about YouTube and general content creation is the people that make some of the most engaging content are the people that try to get you angry. The people that try to constantly tap into you being annoyed, you being angry, the us versus them mindset. And I find it very draining to exist and to live in a constant state of being angry, of being annoyed, of being upset, of being negative. The people that want to try and get your money for video games are the ones promising you the world, not the ones actually delivering you small, finished, final products like many indie developers do. So people are giving their money to people who are promising the world and not delivering. People are giving their attention to people who are getting them angry, getting them annoyed, keeping them in that constant state of tension, that constant state of irritation, because that's the most easy to tap into emotion. So we have an entire generation of audience who want to throw their money at wild promises because they want something, and throw their attention at people who are making them angry and annoyed because they want to feel something. And then you have a whole generation of gamers who don't get the thing that they paid for because it was never going to exist anyway, and are wondering why they're feeling so bloody negative all the time. Because they're constantly consuming content that makes them negative. I don't want to do that. I am aware that it is the worst possible, way to build a community by trying to spread a little bit of happiness and joy and levity. But fuck it, we're gonna try. Because the alternate is just spreading hatred and dissent and disconnection and annoyed, unhappy rhetoric. Which one do you want to be involved with, guys? Have I covered the Ashes drama? Notice how everyone's coming in straight away. They want to know about negative stuff. Very few people wanted to know about Guild Wars Reforged. Not as many people cared about RuneScape making good stuff, but suddenly everyone wants to know about Ashes failing. Because extreme emotions are rewarded with the brain's dopamine center. It's a grim reality that you'll keep hearing content from the people that have negative stuff. I want to know how I'm feeling today. You know what? I'm actually pretty good. I've got a box of Imperial Guard I'm looking forward for building later. I refuse to call them the Astra Militarum. I've got a bunch of people in game around me who are helping me with this stupid idea. You know what? Yeah, when we actually step back and say, hey guys, step outside of the bubble of anger. This is fine. This is good. Let's start with some positive stuff. Yeah. Gratitude is indeed a rad attitude. Let's say that. That works. If the anger led to something productive, it would be fine, but people seem addicted to the emotion. It's anger for the sake of anger. MMORPG players are so desperate for a new journey to grab onto whatever the evil masterminds are pushing. They are so desperate for a new journey, and yet they don't go on the journeys that already exist. They spacebar through all the chat, rush to the end game, and then wonder why the game they've rushed through has less game. Because we've prioritized experience points over the point of the experience. If this mic could fall, I would drop it, because that is a great line. That's probably the best line I've ever written. I've written some good lines, but that line, we've prioritized experience points over the point of the experience, that's my entire career right there. Pretty much summed it up. Everything right there. That is what the kids call, I believe, spitting bars. I know, right? Have I spoken on the AOC news? Yes. I'm getting tired of just repeating the same record of new game is being hyped up as the best thing ever. It won't happen because they're promising the world. You're just a hater, you should have faith. It doesn't happen. Well, I had fun. It happens all the time, just constantly, forever. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that gamers are so desperate for anything. They will believe any massive world-changing lie told to them, and then wonder why it doesn't happen. It's the same story. I just saw an MMORPG with AI NPCs on Kickstarter. If anything boasts about the fact that it uses AI or Web3 or blockchain, it's not designed to actually be good. It's designed to just hit the buzzwords that people who don't understand what makes games good are trying to use to trick gamers into playing their game instead of making an actually good game. The trick to making a good game is to really enjoy games and make a good game. If you have to use buzzwords and a load of reasons about why your game is going to be the next best thing, maybe you're not trying to make a good game. Maybe you're trying to make a project or content. The trick is to add a crystal armor recolor. Are we talking about Duke Nukem Forever again? We're talking about anything that just ends up being a trick. It's a real shame. It is a real shame that people are being tricked into supporting a game instead of just supporting it because it's a good game. I don't want to trick you guys into things. People in the chat are saying we need more RPGs that don't take themselves seriously. Yes, I get that as well. The MMORPG community has expectations that are never met. That's because you keep believing people who lie to you with what the games can be. Not you specifically, but the community in general. You have expectations that are never met because someone that absolutely cannot create those kind of games comes out the woodwork and says, I'm going to create the kind of game that absolutely cannot exist, and you won't believe how amazing it's going to be. And then people go, yes, that sounds fantastic. I can't wait for this to exist. And then it doesn't exist. And then people are like, oh, our expectations weren't met. Yes, because you were tricked. You were lied to about what could actually happen. A game you can play shouldn't be a high bar to clear. Absolutely. But these games suffer from feature creep. These games suffer from, I'm going to make this game, but it's going to have this, and 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 this. And I'm like, hang on, why don't you just create the game that exists and then add to it over time? MMORPGs are a digital third space. That's pretty much what it is. I just think the MMORPG community in general the community in general is so desperate for a new game that they will blindly believe anyone that promises them a new game, even if that promise is incredibly far-fetched and unlikely to ever actually come to fruition. Then they will form a cult-like defensive mentality against this promise, because what that promise has morphed into in their own mind is more of a lifestyle and less of an actual game that exists. Then as time goes on and it becomes more obvious that the promise isn't going to come to fruition, it is easier to simply defend that promise than it is to look in the mirror and admit that you've been tricked, because as we say, it is very easy to trick someone. It is very hard to convince them that they have been tricked, because part of that is self-reflection and admitting that you are fallible, that you are human, that you might make a mistake, that you can be tricked. It is embarrassing to admit that. It is annoying. There's a level of shame that comes with it. You don't want to do that, but it's important that you do that, because otherwise you never reflect, you never grow, you never learn, and that is what creates the community full of people who are so desperate for anything that they will give these charlatans so much time, so much faith, so much money, so much belief, because they want something. They want anything. And they get their expectations sky high and they create this fantasy world in their own head where the thing they want exists. And then they start to defend that fantasy as if it is reality. And that's why you end up with these extremely insular, in-group, out-group, cult-like mentality ideas of, I'm going to defend the future that I want to exist. Because if I don't defend the future that I want to exist, I have to admit that I've been tricked by the fact that it could exist at all. It's okay to want a cool game. Just don't necessarily believe everyone when someone says that to you. The World of Warcraft killer is coming, as everyone says. Saying that a World of Warcraft killer is coming is like saying that the Beatles killer is coming in relation to Beatles the band, the guys that made music. Don't worry guys, soon there'll be a new band that releases that makes all of their previous music irrelevant. The band Queen. Don't worry guys, soon there'll be a new band that comes out that makes all of Queen's music irrelevant. The film The Matrix. Don't worry guys, The Matrix killer's coming at some point. There'll be a new thing that comes out that makes all of this irrelevant. No, there won't. There will be new things that are released, but you don't destroy the stuff from the past by making new stuff in the present or promising a new future. People still play EverQuest. World of Warcraft wasn't the EverQuest killer. It was a different experience that people that wanted World of Warcraft went to go and play. People that want EverQuest continue to play that. The idea that there is a WoW killer out there implies that if a new experience that isn't WoW releases, everyone enjoying WoW goes to it instead. People aren't playing WoW because they hate it. They're playing it because it's giving them the experience that they want. When a new thing releases, it's going to give that experience that it can do. One of the only reasons that WoW killers haven't happened yet is because they keep trying to give the same experience that WoW already gives. You have to give a new experience, a different experience to find a new audience. Each update invalidates the previous achievements and content. Yeah, I completely understand that if we're talking about creation and content within the game itself, but have you ever thought that maybe that's what people who are still playing want? Because if they didn't want that enough, they would just stop playing it. You don't make an entire audience of people move from experience A to another version of experience A. You give access to experience B or C or D. You give access to different styles, different experiences, different games, and then you let the audience work out where they want to go to. Nowadays, the big players in the gaming industry copy stuff that's already there and then wonder why they fail. Yeah, exactly, but they copy stuff that makes money and works. You know what I think a lot of people need to realize? And MMORPG players and content creators need to realize this as well. When I went to Japan, I could not find a single bit of World of Warcraft stuff anywhere. No memorabilia, no toys, no adverts, no trading cards, very few players. And then you go to gaming conventions, whether it's the kind of Insomnia Con that used to exist, whether it's MCM, whether it's MegaCon, and not that many people play MMORPGs. MMORPGs are a very small niche within gaming as a whole, because they exist mostly on PC, sometimes on console, sometimes on mobile. But when people talk about the gaming industry, we have to very much accept the reality that the biggest part of the gaming industry, by a country mile, is mobile gacha gaming. It's huge. MMORPGs were not meant to be good games, they were meant to be good social hangouts. And unfortunately, when the social hangout area becomes more about enjoying the game instead of socially hanging out, you're forced to acknowledge that the game itself is not necessarily the best gameplay. The gaming industry, the biggest part of it is mobile games. Mobile games are absolutely huge. Mobile gacha gaming. And consider this, from a content creator point of view, consider this. MMO Byte transitioned from covering MMORPGs to covering mobile gacha games. And as far as a financial decision goes, that was an incredibly good decision to make. Think about this. Do the general MMORPG community want to spend money? Are they happy when there is a pay-to-win system in a game? Are they happy when the subscription cost goes up? Are they happy when there is both a box price to pay and a monthly subscription? Are they happy when you can pay to boost up? No, the general MMORPG community don't want to spend money. So you have an entire gaming genre that doesn't want to spend money. Now think about gacha. Think about mobile games. Think about all that stuff. Do the mobile gaming people, are they a bit more comfortable spending money? I would say they are. I would say that the gacha players, or the mobile game players that have microtransactions within them, I would say they are much more comfortable with spending money because it has been normalized within that society, within that culture, within that genre. So as a content creator, think about the value that I have. I have an entire audience of people who don't want to spend money. If I'd have just covered mobile gacha games, I would have an entire audience of people who are not only playing the largest style of game in the world, but they are also absolutely willing to spend money. From a marketing or an advertising point of view, that makes you a goddamn goldmine for advertisers. So I think one of the reasons that the MMORPG community is almost shooting itself in the foot so often is not because it won't spend money. That's absolutely fine. I agree with, finding the game that you like and paying a fair amount for it. You have a genre, you have a culture who demand the next biggest thing in the game, will believe any of the charlatans who promise they're going to give you that thing, will blindly trust them, will give money to projects that promise the world, but not projects that already exist, and then wonder why new projects aren't brought into existence. You ever thought about that? That's really weird. MMORPG players will throw thousands of pounds at games that don't exist in the promise of them existing at some point, and yet people aren't comfortable giving thousands of pounds to games that already exist that they can play. Why? It's because people aren't buying gaming. They're buying a dream. They're buying the idea. They're buying the potential of being in a culture when that culture starts. When people give money to these projects that don't exist because they're promising they're going to exist, the players aren't saying, I really like the idea of the gameplay. They're saying, I really like the idea of a community existing and I want to be in that community because right now I don't feel part of any of the other communities. That's what it is. People are buying their place in a potential friendship group in the future. They're buying a dream. They're buying potential. They're buying a fantasy in their own head because it's going to be everything they ever wanted. And then you wonder why these people giving hundreds or thousands of pounds to these projects are super upset and annoyed when they fail. It's because they never wanted it to be a game. They just wanted to feel part of something. That's what these people do. They're buying their spot in the community because if the community starts and they are there at the start, they get to be in at the ground floor. They get to be part of the foundation. They're buying future friendships. That's what they're doing. I think the people playing MMOs, because you have to understand, people forget this all the time. The vast majority of people who enjoy a thing only interact with the thing. They don't interact with the culture or the greater world around the thing. For example, most people that play FIFA or Call of Duty because they enjoy it are not posting on the FIFA or Call of Duty subreddit. They're not posting on forums. They're not getting super involved in the behind-the-scenes drama with the devs. They just turn up, do the thing, go away. The vast majority of people that play RuneScape are not also engaging with RuneScape beyond RuneScape. They're not always posting on the subreddit. They're not going on to Tippet. They're not going onto the forums. They just log in, play RuneScape, log off. That's it. The vast majority of people that enjoy a thing just enjoy the thing. Most people don't watch streams of the games they play. They just enjoy playing the games. So I think sometimes we forget that we are in the minority as effectively the hardcore players. If you are watching a stream of a game, you are much more invested in both that game and online culture than most people who just play the game for fun. So I think sometimes the MMORPG community forget that the people who are online complaining about the fact there are no MMORPGs are the people who aren't just enjoying playing whatever game they're playing. Because the amount of people who just log in and play the game they like, that's pretty high. The amount of people who go online and complain about the game that they're playing, that's lower. But the online negativity is not always 100% representative of the reality of what streams and cultures and content actually are. What's the Ashes of Creation drama? Guy, listen. The problem with the MMORPG community is that people are giving money to people who are promising dreams as opposed to actually giving products. People aren't investing in MMORPGs because they necessarily want a good video game to go and play. They're doing it because they want a community they want to be a part of, and they want to be involved in that community at the ground level. I don't know if you've heard this, but Ashes of Creation has, incredibly, not been created and ironically burnt down.